Well, the period since July to now has been the bloodiest since this conflict began, and protests have been growing really for this conflict to be over, for our soldiers to be brought home, not least from the Stop the War coalition. Mark Krantz speaks for them here in Greater Manchester. Mark, why do you think it is we need to be looking at this again and now bringing our soldiers home?
Well, we saw how the mistakes and the lies and the deceit led to a disaster in Iraq. The danger now is that the same sort of mistakes are repeated again by the same politicians, What is this war about? They cannot agree amongst themselves. It is not, as they say, doable. It's a disaster. And the best thing for everyone, both the Afghans and our British soldiers and the British people, would be to bring our boys back.
How much support do you think your cause is getting in this argument?
Well, I think growing support. The polls have always shown that majority of people in this country are for withdrawal. The recent one in The Guardian shows 47% for an immediate withdrawal. Today, another 10 or 12% say, by the end of the year. But people know it's got to stop. And the military families have given voice to this opposition, I think, in many quarters now, because their sons and daughters make the ultimate sacrifice. The politicians who vote for the wars, they send somebody else's children to die. And this is disgrace. We saw it went wrong in Iraq. We've got to make sure we end the war in Afghanistan before there's a wider disaster for all.
Earlier on in the programme, we did hear from the father of a soldier who lost his life in Afghanistan 2 years ago, and he was saying to us that despite that happening, he really thinks there's a job that needs to be finished out there. Do you not think that we need to stay there and get the job done? Well,
we've had the British Empire in Afghanistan twice before, and we had to leave, and that's when Britain, as they said, ruled the waves. The Russians, the USSR, they had an empire. They had hundreds of thousands of troops in Afghanistan, and they weren't able to quell the Afghanese people and their desire to be independent. How long will this job last, and what is it? What is the job that they want people to do? I did hear the Armed Forces Minister today, or rather yesterday, talking about we'll stay there maybe for a generation. I mean, how many sons and daughters must be sent to this pointless, bloody, war that appears to have no end? We saw this sort of thing in Vietnam. We don't want to be part of making the same sort of mistakes that have been made in the past.
OK, Mark, thank you very much indeed. Clearly, a lot of passionate views on this. The politicians saying that this is a job that has to be finished, but that's not going to stop people like Mark and the Stop the War coalition protesting against this and trying to get our soldiers brought home. Back to you.